What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports NBA Hardwood Show. We're breaking down everything NBA, but of course, we're going to talk some March Madness and some other fun stuff here. We got the FanDuel final and the DK final this week. I know Bryce is excited about that. Got Big T, who's been diving deep into the March Madness stuff. Bryce, I'll go over to you first. How are things going over there for you?
I'm great. I love March Madness. I am flying to Scottsdale tomorrow for the DraftKings final on Saturday. So get to meet the big man himself, Kay Fallick. I think he has more tickets than me. I only have one. He has two from that huge night he had a couple months ago. So I know there's a couple other RPS members in it. We'll have a good turnout there and, hopefully take it down. In terms of March Madness, I had my first, we do this auction Calcutta thing. It's like you get paid a percentage of the pot, as the tournament goes on. So I think we had a $50,000 pool last night. So that was fun. And yeah, that was really the first time I looked at the bracket. So ended up I bought Houston and UConn and Baylor were the three teams I bought.
All right, those are the teams that Bryce has bought. If you want to get in, go make those bets now. Big T, I'll go over to you next. How are you doing with the March Madness deep dive? You said you were going to send me something and you didn't. Our own Sean Smith in the Discord sent me some deep dive stuff, so I'm going to make sure that I can ship over you in some college basketball this coming up weekend.
Yeah, I did send it back on Twitter after I said that. I sent the link so that you could see it, but that's not the point. The point is I'm deep diving. I can't have Stevie Boynton making fun of me for some of my teams, so I got to be prepared. Much like Bryce, I did my auction last night too. It's funny he did his because same type thing. I think ours was like 40K or something. Always fun, and I hadn't looked at hardly anything before yesterday, so it was nice to dive in. And I mean, I love March Madness. I've always loved March Madness. I mean, since I was a kid listening on my earbuds in freaking class when all the other kids were doing whatever they were doing. I was listening to the games. I always loved it. Even though I don't love college basketball like I used to, I still freaking love this week. Even the game that starts at 6:40 with the two shitty teams starts it out tonight. I'll be sitting there getting some action. We'll have some bets in the Discord, and we'll get that going. I love it. There's something to be said for every game. Win moves on, loser goes home. College kids, so it's not as good as NBA, but I like that. I like how it's flawed. Some people make fun of the missed shots and stuff. I like it. I think it's fun. I don't like to watch it for 6 months like Stevie Boynton. I do like to watch it for 3 weeks, though. It's a fun 3-week sweat. So super excited to dive in. And nice 5-game NBA slate tonight, plus golf. We had a big golf week. Everything going. Lots of stuff at Run Pure, like always. We got the college package is up. If anyone wants just college basketball, Stevie Boynton, no one in the world likes it more than him. He needs new undies every day, at least a couple times. He loves it. I'm going to trust him with my money, and I'm hoping we have a monster March Madness the next couple weeks.
Yep, I know we're going to have a monster March Madness. I'm excited for it. I can't wait to break it all down. You said there's all the sports going on. You know what else is going on? We have 6 a.m. Eastern, first MLB season going on. We got a showdown playbook for you guys. So no better time to sign up if you want to sign up now. I know
it's like a regular season game too, correct?
Yes, there's 2 regular season games. So it's in, I don't know if it's Korea. I don't know where it is, but it's wherever they're playing.
Korea.
Okay, it is Korea. So they're in Korea. They got 2 games, Wednesday and Thursday. And then people are wondering, well, why doesn't the regular season just start right away? Well, they need to travel back and give them some time to rest up because it's not easy. So they do those 2 games. And then they're going to start back up on March 28th, which, of course, we'll have tons of content for you guys for that. Baseball is just right around the corner. So every sport is going on. Basically, every sport except NFL, you can get it. Even the League of Legends playoffs are going to be kicked off pretty soon. So
League playoffs?
Coming up. I mean, LCK starting up playoffs, and LPL will be right around the corner. So your very own Jackie Love is going to get the business. But
is he still crushing, old Jackie? Do I need to play a
flame? His team's real good. TES. Really? Yeah, they're real good this year.
They're a top. They're like the best TES has been in a while, and I think they're a top 3 team for sure. I don't know if they're number 2, but they're up there for sure.
I'll be honest, like some of the most fun I've ever had in like the last 20 years of my adult life was during COVID when we'd play poker all day with a bunch of our friends and stuff online, and we'd sweat League of Legends in the middle of the night and stuff. I absolutely love that, and I actually look back like, man, that was funner than we thought back then. Obviously, we were worried about other stuff too, but as far as the actual hanging out, playing poker, watching League, freaking love that stuff.
Yeah, one of my favorite sweats was waking up to my team down 2-1 versus Big T's Jackie Love, and then sweating.
Don't be rubbing stuff in. Would you
right.
own me with someone? You slid right in there making fun of me. I was building us all up, and then you talk about owning me.
Just imagine, I wake up, right, and then I'm down 2-1. I mean, that's a brutal way to wake up, right? You look at the score, and it was brutal, but then it was a fun sweat to come back. But it was good times for sure. I wasn't in the poker club with you guys, but I did have fun playing poker a couple weeks ago with you guys, and I made some money, so can't complain.
OS, can you all get started already? If you get an avatar, OS, you get an avatar that isn't a big O, we'll get started for you, baby.
Yep, I agree with you on that. And if you want us to get started, how about you hit the like? That would be appreciated. I haven't seen what the likes are, but last show I did with AP, you guys definitely did not deliver on the weekend on the likes. I'm just going to say that. We still gave out the plays of the day. We still did it. And again, we'll give out the plays of the day too as well. We can't not give them out with Big T here with the workbench play of the day. So we'll be giving them out for you guys no matter what. But please hit that like and subscribe to the channel and check out all the content. We have golf. We're going to have a college bracket basketball show. We'll have shows for the DFS stuff too. So you don't want to miss it. And there's a pretty fun Survivor tournament coming up. And on top of that, Big T, we're going to have a logo contest, right? We have this every single week. This week for March Madness, we're going to do it all 4 days for people. So why don't you tell people about the logo contest? And then if Big O changes his name, maybe we'll dive into the games.
Yeah, we did it for golf last week. Like I said, simple as can be. All you got to do, sign up with the link. Use our logo, our new white logo, which is going to bring you good luck anyways because you're going to run pure with it. But switch to that white logo, enter the contest. Literally all you got to do. I don't know the exact amount each day, but over $100, free money every day. Plus DraftKings might kick some tickets too. So pay attention to the links. And we got a Run Pure bracket contest that Stevie Boynton, like I said, he's got all the connections for this college stuff. I think it's $5,000. I need to double check, but $5,000 for free. I think is it only for members, Mangone? Do you guys know, or is it
members? It's members only. We have not been sharing the link outside, and Steve has asked us to not share the link outside of the Run Pure Discord. So you got to get in there. I think it's great value. I mean, Tony's tossing in some swag on top of it. I know that. Yeah. We got $5,000 from members, so
$5,000 free dollars. I was thinking about even spicing it up on a whim. We haven't done this in a while. I was thinking like if people sign up, maybe we just reimburse someone with, I don't know. I'll think about it for the next. And maybe we just hook someone up. Like if 10 people sign up for the site, whether it's weekly, monthly, yeah, let's do that. Let's just do it on a whim. I don't care. Let's do it. We haven't done this in a while. If you sign up and then while we're on the show and you send me proof that you signed up, we'll put you in a thing and we'll pick one person just to get it free. It could be an annual, a monthly, a weekly. If you do an annual and we pick you, we'll cover it. We'll send you the money. You're going to have to pay obviously to get on, but I'll reimburse it. We'll Venmo you or whatever. And you'll be able to get in the free bracket. So you can do it even weekly. If it's weekly, sign up for weekly. But $5,000 free bracket pool, only Run Pure members, plus the swag, like Bryce said. We'll throw all that into. But if you sign up while we're on the show, just a promotion during this show, nothing crazy, not like all weekend or something. During this show, send me proof, and we'll pick one person to reimburse it. Even if you're the only person that signs up and you send me proof, I'll send you the money back. So that's a once in a long time deal.
Yep, and you can contact Big T at Big T44 DFS on Twitter. That's an easy way to get to him as well. Or on Discord. Gregory is there to let us know. 5K only for members, and there's only 96 people in so far. So there you go. I'll be getting.
It blows my mind too. I don't want to go on too, but it's only a 5-game slate, and the dude hasn't changed his avatar yet. But it's $5,000 free dollars. Everybody should be in it. We have way more members. We have way over 1,000 members. Everybody should be in that contest. It is a free bracket contest. I know I'm getting in. I got no shame in my game. I'll go in there and try to take first and get the money. I don't care. I'll freaking get in there. Everyone should be in it. Every member, every coordinator. Why would you not be in, Bryce? It's $5,000 free dollars. I don't care how much money you got.
Because I'm lazy. And
I wasn't meaning you in particular.
Yeah.
Why would you not be in it?
I'll get in. I looked at the bracket for the first time last night. And then speaking of you guys who like pools, this isn't like a DraftKings plug or anything, but they have a $100 buy-in tournament or bracket pool, and there is no chance it fills. Just a little public service announcement there for the people. I think it overlays, 6 figures. So if you're in a state where it's legal, I'm flying to Arizona Wednesday, so I'll be jamming some entries in. Hopefully on the plane, but if the plane doesn't have good Wi-Fi, I'm just gonna be sitting at dinner on Wednesday. My fiance will be annoyed and clicking buttons on my computer.
We got people, Big T, asking where is the link for that?
I typed it in there. I said in announcements. I was gonna put it. It's in announcements of Discord. A few messages up because Steve posted it about a week ago. It's about 3 or 4 messages
I'll go ahead
in the
and
announcement.
Yeah, pin that. It's in the announcements. Maybe tomorrow I'll make another announcement just to make sure.
We'll definitely talk it up the next few days. But point being, for the next 45 minutes or however long we're on here, sign up, send me proof. You get in there, and maybe you just get it free.
Yeah, and use that code March15, get you 15% off. And our guy, Big O, has not said anything, but we'll dive into the games, Big O. We'll dive in for you. Unless you left, we'll see. If you did leave, hopefully
he just came to troll us.
Yep, there are always people coming to troll us for sure. But let's dive into the games. I think it's an interesting 5-game slate. It's not my favorite, but there's news that could be really interesting. I'm curious how it all shakes out because we have the shitty Washington Wizards who are the first game on the slate. Not a huge fan of dealing with this Wizards team. I am kind of praying that Kuzma's in because if Kuzma's not in, it's just going to be a mess of a scenario. Now, Bryce might feel differently because I know the other day when Washington had guys out, he absolutely crushed. I had some good teams, but it just wasn't enough. And I was frustrated by that slate. I wish I would have played it a little bit better. Bryce, I'll go over to you. How do you handle this Washington situation? Because it's a clear spot. We're going to have to play guys even if Kuzma's in. If Kuzma's out, then it's really going to be a spot where you want to slam them. And on the flip side, I haven't really mentioned this yet, but the Minnesota Timberwolves have Rudy Gobert, Naz Reid, and Edwards all questionable for this game. I'm not saying you should backload for it, but there is a compelling case to be made. If all those guys are out, you would clearly want to get exposure to some of these late guys. And even if like 2 miss or 1, there's still reasons to get interest in the Timberwolves. But talk about the Wizards because they're clearly going to be one of the best value plays on this slate. And this Rockets team is pretty good right now with no Alperen Sengun. We've been playing these Rockets for a while, and I still think they have good price tags, especially with some of the value that we have on the board.
Yeah, to me, this slate shapes up exactly like Sunday. Like you have the early value in the nut game, Washington, Houston. And then, you have some potentially backloaded value that would be like the Celtics on Sunday. And you saw my team that won, it was, I think, 3 Wizards and 3 Celtics. You didn't have to go nuts on playing 5, from all these teams or anything. I think the Wizards are a 4-max situation for me tonight. And on DraftKings, I think Houston is. I think on FanDuel, Amen Thompson, for example, is way more expensive on FanDuel than DraftKings. I think they might be a 3-max team for me on FanDuel. But yeah, it's hard to find a better spot than this. Even if Kuzma's in, these guys pop. And speaking of Kuzma, I think if he plays, I'm going to play a ton of him. Jordan Poole, he's always kind of a tough sell to me. But when he's going to take 30 shots. And that's not an exaggeration. He's going to take 20 to 30 shots here. There's just no way he doesn't. He's a great play. I think Justin Champagne is a great play. There's just no one on this Wizards team. Kuzma, going to play a lot of him if he plays. Jared Butler is I think you could go down as far as him. They just need guys to eat minutes out there. Corey Kispert, Rashawn Holmes. I think this entire team is in play. I think an Anthony Gill and a Jules Bernard is kind of where I would cut it off personally. I think you can make a case for Bernard, but not Gill. But, the Washington value is so strong, I don't think I'm going to go there. And moving over to the Houston side of the ball, I mean, Amen Thompson is like a 7K player, and DraftKings continues to price him down. So, he's going to be super chalky here. You can pretty much do whatever you want against this Wizards defense. So it's kind of whoever wants to go out and get it. We saw this exact same matchup the other night. And, Jalen Green, Jabari Smith, and Fred VanVleet are all super solid plays. I think they might be a little overowned just because, people will stack the Wizards and then force runbacks from Houston. So I think in the huge GPPs, Houston might be a little overowned to me. But I think a great way to limit that is just to play a max of 3 Houston or something like that. So you're still getting a lot of these guys. Your team just isn't all your teams just don't end up being game stacks of this game.
Yep, definitely going to be a good game. And that Kuzma news is huge, right? We're going to want exposure to this game, but the Kuzma news is massive. It'll change how we handle the slate. Good news is we'll get starting lineups, right? This is one of the first games on the slate. There are 2 games that lock at 7 o'clock, and this is the best one. Big T, I'll shift on over to you to talk about this game. Clearly going to be a game that we want to get exposure to, right? Kyle Kuzma news is definitely massive. How do you break down this game?
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a good game, like Bryce was saying, where you don't get spots like this too often where a team is just this bad and this short-handed already. I mean, Washington is a 10-point dog at home to Houston, and they deserve it too because I don't know how they can even cover it. I mean, this team is so bad. Even if Kuzma's in there, I love my boy Champagne. I think this is the dude from Pitt, the Spurs guys from St. John's. But I love this dude in college. But, man, if he's one of your key rotation guys in the NBA, you got some tough sledding. But that is great for DFS because this dude does everything. He's 4,200. Just like Bryce said, Jordan Poole, 6,600, going to chuck. Part of me hopes Kuzma's out just so that all these, scrubs can just smash. I just say Kuzma's out for a second. All of these guys are in play, like Bryce said. I mean, you're going to have Kispert shooting the ball 20 times. You're going to have our boy Empire used to love Patrick Baldwin. I thought he was long gone from the NBA. He's somehow back on a team. Johnny Davis, Jules Bernard. Is that the dude from UCLA? Speaking of March Madness, I think he was decent for UCLA. These guys are just really, really good plays. So, much like Bryce said, I don't want to be too repetitive, but 3 or 4 of these guys for me, both sites, no doubt about it. Pair them up with whoever. We wait for the Kuzma news. Whether he's in or not, if he's in there, he's going to shoot the ball a ton. The guy that I think I would like slightly less if Kuzma's in is just Poole, but I like him anyways because he's too cheap. He's 6,600. I would like him. I would love Poole. His projection would have to go way up with no Kuzma. They have no one. He's going to shoot the ball 38 times. So I don't know. But I do like those cheaper guys, though, like Baldwin. I know he's 4K, but I just think he can get there. And even those those guys in the 3Ks, Gil Bernard, Johnny Davis, I think they're all in play in this game versus Houston. So it's a fun optimizer game where you can kind of get some random combos in there and stuff. Maybe you get a little lucky on an Anthony Gill or something. And that's kind of where you get using SaberSim, playing 20, 150. I like single entry too, but teams like this, you can get some nice random combos. If you're just playing like a single entry team, it's really tough to click Jules Bernard or something. You just can't do it. But if you play 150 or even 20 and you cycle these guys through, maybe you only get 1 team or 2 teams with these guys. But they literally have 30+ point upside. They do. They do. There's no guys out there, so they could crush. And then the Houston side's way easier too. Amen Thompson's way too cheap, like Bryce said. Jalen Green's been awesome. VanVleet's been awesome. Jabari, even Dylan Brooks, Jock Landale. All these guys are in play. So I know it sounds like we're taking the easy way, but play a lot of guys in this game, and we'll try to find some low-owned guys in other spots and cycle some guys later in the slate. This game's too good not to play a bunch.
There's good chalk and bad chalk, and I think most of the plays in this game are extremely good chalk. There's 5 games. People are going to gravitate towards this, and then they're going to gravitate towards Dallas and San Antonio for the studs. So, if you played any basically any of the other 3 games, you're automatically going to be different. So like you can mix and match guys from those games in and get different elsewhere.
Yeah, you can also get different by like, I don't know if you go under on certain plays in this game that have ownership. Like one key why I think you definitely did well on FanDuel the other day, Bryce, is you didn't have Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday was 50% owned and absolutely busted, right?
How is Drew Holiday ever 50% owned?
I mean, I have the starting lineup ahead of me. The starting lineup was O'Shea Brissett, Sam Hauser, Drew Holiday, Al Horford, and Jason Tatum. So, and they were playing the Wizards. And he was like,
be us 3, AP, and friggin' whoever, and Drew, and I'm not playing Drew. Like,
well, it's just why, right? And I do want to, before I go to the other games, I want to go through the rotations real quick so people can understand what happened in that game. So it was a blowout, clearly, because the Celtics played the Wizards and they had no one. We'll go to the Celtics guys real quick. So Peyton Pritchard played 35 minutes and he came off the bench because obviously it was a blowout, right? So you got all that good run. Brissett started, got 29 minutes. Sam Hauser got 22 minutes, didn't close. Al Horford only played 22. Drew only played.
Boston matter on this slate?
Can you let me finish? Can you let me go through the reasoning, Big T? I let you talk. It's my turn to have the floor.
I'm waiting to see how you bring Boston back together for this. I'm curious now.
You'll see. And I don't think that was the game Sam Hauser. It was the same game that Sam Hauser, I think, did get hurt. But Jason Tatum, 26 minutes. The reason why I say it is if this game blows out on the Houston side of the ball, there are plays that are not going to get there. If you tell me that the game is a blowout, well, who are the guys that are going to play no matter what? Like AP and I talked about on Sunday. We thought that it'd be a pretty good spot for someone like Peyton Pritchard. I think it's a really good spot for an Amen Thompson. I could see Amen Thompson playing with the starters. I could also see him playing in the scrub time as well. I think there's a lot of ways to kind of really look at this and think about how do we play these guys. Like maybe if you set a rule of one of Fred VanVleet or Jalen Green, I could see routes where some of these guys could get here and some of them could only play 20 minutes and not do well. So that's the point of bringing it up. It matters a lot. There are guys that are going to have a ton of ownership on the Houston side of the ball. And if you can fade some of these guys, you can definitely take advantage of it for sure. So, and here's the Washington rotations. Big T, would you like the Washington rotations as well?
They're on the slate, so I'd like their rotations.
Okay, but the reason I explained it, and I know not everyone agrees with it, Bryce, how about you break the tie? Is it wrong to mention the Boston stuff to explain what's going on with Houston?
No.
Oh, you can't be on his side with that. No way.
Yeah, because Bryce understands because Houston guys are going to have a shit ton of ownership, and if someone plays 25 minutes and doesn't get there, it matters.
No way he's on the side.
Go read your March Madness playbook, Big T. Get out of here.
I think it matters. I don't think it's probably the most efficient way to spend the time, but it's a 5-game slate. What else are we going to talk about for the next 40 minutes or whatever?
Correct. I mean, would you like me to go to the driving range like Rubio instead? Was that how you'd like to spend my my day?
No, I do not want anything to do with Rubio.
There you go. Look at this. Phila, information is key. Jacob, let him know. And AP, yes, I'm yelling like this is the NHL chat. I just want to fight people like I'm in the NHL chat. But here's the Boston minutes. I thought Boston. I watched this game really closely.
We're back to Boston.
I mean, sorry, not Boston. Washington.
Thank you.
Washington, my bad. Justin, I was tilting the Jared Butler stuff because Jared Butler did not start and then didn't close. They actually closed. They started Justin Champagnie and they also started Patrick Baldwin, and those guys closed. They played 36 and 32 minutes. Jordan Poole only played 24 minutes and still smashed in 24 minutes. Like, still was absolutely amazing. Corey Kispert played 23. Rashawn Holmes only played 19, which I'm curious to see what happens with him in this game because if his minutes just get cut again, he could suck. But if he plays 28 minutes, 30 minutes, he's going to absolutely smash. Then you had Johnny Davis for 22, Anthony Gill for 24, 15 for Big Eugene. Big Eugene was definitely a disappointment, who I know, Big T, you like some Big Eugene. We'll have to see if he could bounce back here. And then Jared Butler played 22, and Jules Bernard played 24. So those are the minutes. The point I'm getting at with mentioning is they still played 10 guys. Some of these guys won't get there. Like Big Eugene had ownership and didn't get there. Some of these guys won't get there. Some will. My lean is stick with those starters for sure. But all right, let's move along. Let's go on over to the next game. Charlotte
I don't understand Patrick Baldwin's projection. Like, where do you guys have? Like, why is he so low?
What's his projection right now?
I mean, just all of them I see are like around 16, 17.
He's not projected as a starter, right? So if Kuzma is out, then he will get the starter.
Kuzma wasn't in the time when he did that?
No, thank you for listening to my breakdown of every single player's minutes and rotations. But
I heard that part. I didn't hear the Kuzma part.
Yeah, Kuzma didn't play. So that was why if Kuzma sits this game, you're expecting seeing similar minutes and everything like that. So to be fair, what's it called? I think Eugene is out. So I should have said that, and we got
just no one else and talking about the blowout and stuff too. Like, I don't see how you don't play Baldwin and Champagne. Which kind of goes to your point. I'm circling back to your side where the blowout, like, I mean, those two, I don't see how those two aren't crushing. So,
yeah, that's again, I did this Sunday show with AP. We talked about how Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser in that game would probably have really great games and probably close as well. So this game is key. And especially if Kuzma's out. If Kuzma's out, it is really, really going to make an impact on everything. All right, let's go to Charlotte and Orlando. So Charlotte's a team we always want to attack on the slate. I'm not big on playing Orlando here. I think they're fine. Let's keep moving this thing along, though. Paolo Banchero, 9K. I think he's definitely a solid play, but I don't want to spend 9K on him. I want to spend money on other options. Franz Wagner, 7.1K. I actually think he's in the conversation for sure. One of the problems you have with Charlotte is Trey Mann is 6'2" now. I mean, that is kind of getting pricey on someone like him. Bryce, I'll go over to you. It's clearly a game that you can't completely ignore, and you talked about it. This is a game that maybe you get like a splash of a play here, a splash of a play there, and you get them at low ownership, and they help you win a tournament.
I'm going to be over this game for sure. Banchero at 9K is expensive, but, I think it's a little more salary agnostic with all this value that we have. Like, I'm much more comfortable playing like a 9K Banchero when I have like tons of value that I'm going to be jamming than when I'm not. So I like him. I think Franz Wagner is a super strong play, even in a vacuum at 7-1. And then I don't really love the rest of Orlando. Like, their rotation pieces just never really get the minutes that you need. Like, I think like a Cole Anthony, like it's just hard for me to get to like the cheaper guys over the Wizards. I think it's more like the studs in this game. And, that extends to the Charlotte side as well. I like Miles Bridges a good amount, but I think Brandon Miller's there. Micic is a guy that I'm going to continue to play. I just think that, for his role at, low 5Ks is, I think he has a lot of upside at that price. And then I think Nick Richards is even in play. Like, we talk about all the great plays from this Washington Houston game, but, none of them are really center besides Rashawn Holmes. So I guess Jabari Smith, but it's not like there's like a lock button center to play. So I like Nick Richards as well.
Yeah, Nick Richards is definitely the tough one. I don't know if I can get on that one here, but Big T, can you get on some Nick Richards and anyone else in this game?
I mean, these prices are tough on DK, but to Bryce's point, it's a 5-game slate, and everyone in this game is going to be low owned. I guess Cole Anthony is pretty cheap. Maybe he gets some ownership, but like Paulo's not going to be owned. Franz isn't going to be owned. And Charlotte, I mean, these prices on Charlotte, at least on DraftKings, are just tough when you're going against Orlando, who's not a very good matchup fantasy-wise. I just like single entry, my main team and stuff. I can't really get to these guys, but the good plays, I think, especially in multi-entry, are Paulo for sure. Because that's where you're going to get different on this slate. Play some of the guys in the first game, especially cheapies like we talked about, and it lets you get different in the studs. And like he could easily get you 50 or 60 and get you totally different on this slate. So for me, just because I like the cheap guys so much in that first game, I'm primarily in the other games going to be trying to jam studs and get different studs. And by studs, I would even include like the 7 and 8K guys in there, just the guys that have huge upside. Like, that's why I'm not really going to play Cole Anthony. I'm not going to play Jonathan Isaac on this slate. The cheaper guys, I am not going to, but anyone that has upside over 7K, or even in the 6Ks and higher, I'm on them. So Paulo, Franz are the only Orlando pieces for me. Charlotte, I like Charlotte less than Orlando, but Miles Bridges would be in there. Brandon Miller, I guess you could put in there just because he has some upside. I don't love it again, but sprinkle him in there. You don't have to go crazy. And again, on my single entry team, my main team, I will not be going probably anyone in this game just because I do play it way chalkier, and I'll probably just play a lower owned stud somewhere, or I can play like Jokic, like I never minded doing stuff. So for me, definitely go to this game in multi-entry, but single entry, probably not too much.
All right, let's go on over to the next game. We got Pelicans, Brooklyn Nets. Zion's been incredible lately. He's 8-7. I think he's a pretty good spend here. I don't know if you worry about the blowout. At least it's in Brooklyn. But the Pelicans have been just beating the shit out of teams, it feels like at times. Like when they dominate, they absolutely dominate. And you obviously could lose some of that run. This Nets team is really not good right now. Bryce, I'm curious how you handle this game. This seems like a game that if you whenever I run my MME stuff, I always look how many teams do I have, 2 or 3 of guys. And if I have 3 of the Pelicans, I think that's probably a mistake today. I'm not going to set that rule, but it's something I'm going to look at for sure when I'm kind of running my MME stuff. How are you handling this game? Because this game feels worse than the one that we just talked about. But, of course, there are studs that can get there. Cam Thomas could easily have a massive game if he starts filling it up. You could see Nick Claxton at center. He's been having some really nice ceiling games. I know Dennis Schroeder, I believe he played an insane amount of minutes the other day. Yeah, he played 42 minutes. And listen, 42 minutes is 42 minutes. You can't ignore someone who's getting that many minutes every single night. So what are you doing with this game? Because there are some plays, but it's definitely a game I think we want to be a little bit lower on.
I think the right way to approach this, if you want to max it, would be max 2 of the Pelican studs. So it would be a max 2 of Zion, Ingram, and McCollum. Because you could see a Pelicans cheap guy slip in there as well. But once again, this is kind of like the last game to me. I plan on playing more studs in this game than the field. Favorite one here is Zion. He's been tasked with more ball handling duties, and it's just really led to much better stat lines for him. I think his role is fundamentally changed. So I think Zion's the best spend here. I'd rank it Ingram second, then McCollum. To note, McCollum's all the way down to 6,500 because, with him handling the ball less, he's asked to be more of a scorer. He's had over 4 assists once, and that was last game in the last 10 games or whatever. So, he's a little more scoring dependent, but I'm still fine playing stuff like that in tournaments. Don't really love the cheap guys here. I think Trey Murphy is viable. Especially if Herb Jones misses, he's probable, so I doubt that happens. But something to keep an eye on a shorter slate like this. Even micro edges can help. Brooklyn side of the ball, I'd probably rank it in terms of what I like: Claxton, then Cam Thomas, and then Bridges after Schroeder. So I like Schroeder the third best. Tony and I talk about this a lot. If Mikal Bridges, if you need him to get 50, he's going to get you 30. If you need him to get 10, he's going to get you 30 or 35 or whatever. It's just he's kind of a tough play to get to on this slate. He's not a full fade for me, but it's a really tough matchup for these Brooklyn guys. I think of all the teams I'd like to get weird on, they're probably my least favorite. It doesn't mean now I'm playing 150 teams. It doesn't mean they ain't going to be in my pool, but unless something fundamentally pops up and changes their stuff, likely not going to be having tons of exposure here outside of maybe a Schroeder.
All right, Big T, I'll go over to you. Is this similar like the last game? Get some pieces, grab some of the studs. We'll have to see what you want to do with it. Again, I've been big on Zion over the past month, it feels like. Hated him at the start of the year, but it's just he's a different animal right now. I definitely want to get exposure to him, but I do worry about the blowout. So what's your overall thoughts on this game?
Yeah, it's a lot like the last game, just like Bryce said. And these are the slates I had to put 150 in because these are the slates I always love. I wasn't going to do 150 today, but you got a 5-game slate with a lot of easy plays in the first game and then a couple games that aren't great. These are just slates I love because it's so easy to get chalky and get a little bit off, just like we're talking about. I think they're the biggest edge slates. So Exact same as last game. I'm not playing cheap guys from this game. I don't see a reason to do that. But Zion, I mean, Zion's been awesome, like you're saying. He's been crushing. He's 8,700. Great to get in there on it. Brandon Ingram has upside. I mean, he gets there and goes off at times. Definitely him. CJ McCollum's down to 6,500. Definitely leave him in your player pool. Trey Murphy can get hot from the arc. I mean, I'll leave him in there. Again, these are guys I don't really like. I don't want to play them in my single entry, my main team, but I want to get some of them. And I don't think anyone else. I mean, I'm not playing Joe Val. No one else on New Orleans. And then you go to the Brooklyn side. New Orleans is, if not the worst matchup, one of the worst matchups in basketball. They're just slow. They play good. They're solid. They have a bunch of good dudes, all that. So I don't want a ton of Brooklyn. And I honestly agree with everything Bryce said. I'm not playing these cheap guys. Schroeder can get hot, can get things going. I'll play some of him. Cam Thomas, you have to play some of Cam Thomas just because if he somehow gets hot, he just chucks so much that he can get you 50 or 60 even. Nothing's out of play for Cam Thomas. With as crazy as he is, he probably won't crush, but when he does get hot, he can go all the way off the rafters. So I like him. Nico Claxton, I like him just fine. And then Bridges, just like Bryce said, I hate to keep saying that, but I just never play him. I'm more of a tournament guy. I mean, how many times a year does he have a tournament winner? Hardly ever. And sometimes if he's in the winner, it's just because he gets you 35, and that's good enough, which probably is a reason to leave him in there. Maybe I leave him in and just project him for like 33 or something to where just if I get just enough. But I definitely don't like him or this game. Just get some sprinkles in there.
Yep, agree with you on that. Let's go to the next game. This one starts at 8 o'clock Eastern. It's definitely going to be a game that we want to get exposure to. And we will probably, this is worth mentioning, the next game coming up has some big news, and you'll be able to make some decisions on stuff. Like, for instance, if Gobert is out and Naz Reid, well, Ant Edwards is going to be a great spend, and maybe you already are exposed to Luka or Wemby, and maybe you'll change some shares because of that. We'll have to see, but we'll get an update at least at like an hour and a half before that game, which I think is definitely important information for sure. Obviously, a good game we want to get exposure to. I want Luka. I want over on Wemby. I want over on Wemby every single slate for the rest of the year. I just want to know what his ownership is going to be.
For the rest of his life.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just, at least at this price, right? I mean, if he's like 13, 14K, it'd probably be a different conversation.
It's
but
still
right
not
now,
going to matter because the dude literally has, I mean, he could literally get 10 of every stat. Like, he could have 25, 10, 10, 10, and 10. Like, it's insane.
I know. And he's average.
Wemby was on my last winner. He was on that team Sunday. And
he's been on all your winners. Every time I see you post a screenshot, he's on it.
Well, because no one plays him on FanDuel because he's so expensive, but price doesn't
matter. And he goes
matter
for like 75 all the time.
When you get, when you get 30 points in stocks, I don't give a. It doesn't matter how expensive you are.
He's probably underpriced.
Let me explain. The other day, someone in Discord chat, they go, Wemby is mid right now, and he's been mid.
What?
They said he's been mid lately, and I went back and looked at the game logs, and if we include the last game, he has had 4 games of 70 or more fantasy points in his last 10. 4 in his last 10, over 70. And that's just, I'm not including the games where he gets 60.
And the key part on top of what you're saying is he's almost always low owned.
Yeah.
On top of it.
Yeah. So
I had him at like 7%.
He wasn't.
How many guys can get you 70 at under 10% owned? Like, no one.
Yeah. He's just, I mean, right now, what I do every single
mid, like that's the worst statement I've ever heard.
It was very bad.
People
just like
he did at the beginning of the year. He definitely
he was talking so much shit about Wemby.
I bet he's not anymore though.
Yeah,
he loves Wemby now.
Yeah,
for sure. And you're gonna love him here. For me personally, I am going to raise his projection.
Kuzma out, baby.
Yep, Kuzma's out. We'll get back to talking about the Boston Celtics in a little bit, Big T. Not yet. We'll circle back.
We'll get back into the Celtics rotations.
We'll get back to the Celtics rotation shortly. But
I want to see a game where Tatum was out. Can we review when Tatum was out for one of the games just to see?
I mean, if you'd like, I can pull a popcorn machine on it, Tony. But I guess before we go to this game, Tony, you understand that. I mean, I'm just going to try to talk you in this. Houston is going to beat the shit out of this.
I understand. That's all you had to say, though. That's my point. You could have just said exactly what you just said.
Well, it's why I'm trying to hammer the point home that, and this is something
I'm
that
with you. I'm going to play those guys with you. I'm jamming Patrick Baldwin and Champagne and all my teams. They're getting slammed in there.
But the reason I want to go back to it real quick, and Bryce, you won a tournament with it the other day. So one thing I have
Houston right now too, by the way, before you finish that, like, man,
what?
It's still 10 right now. You got to bet that at -10. You have to.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I'm with Beanier though. Boston money line is definitely a winner tonight.
That's my second favorite play of the night. Boston money line.
Bryce, I want to know on the Houston side of the ball before we dive back into this other game. And even Washington, what is your max like on Sunday? Because this slate is very similar to Sunday. On this slate, are you setting a max of 3 Washington and Celtics, or are you keeping it? You're keeping it at 4, okay? Because to be fair, you won the other day with 3 and 3, right? And so I debated heavily what to do, and I kept it at 4 and 4. But I'm curious if you would, because you won with it, if that would change your opinion.
No, I mean I had teams with 4, but like I did allow 4. I'm going to allow. I think it's the same thing. Probably 4 Wizards, not 5. If there's ever a spot to allow 5, this might be it. I mean, you're going to get 4 dust balls and Jordan Poole shooting 40 times is pretty much how this game is going to go. And, I don't care about blowouts. They don't have enough players. It's pretty – the chalk team, I'm telling you right now, it's going to be 4 or 5 Wizards, Luka, fill in the last 2 pieces. Probably a couple Houston guys.
And people are going to fill in with Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green. And that's why I keep saying maybe just play one of them and not 2, because it's probably stupid to do that. But sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to go 4 Wizards, 3 Rockets still. The Wizards are cheap enough to where they can have a lot of players get there. Especially if we see some ceiling games from the studs. It's a really good slate for studs. Look, you have so many expensive players on a 5 game. You don't always have like the 2 best fantasy players in the league, Luka and Jokic going up like on the same slate on a 5 gamer.
All right. Thank you for that information. It's definitely helpful. I think that's one of the keys of the slate. And we'll get the Wizards, we'll get a tweet out that says like how many guys they have. And then from there, if they only have 8 guys, that's huge. If they have 10, well, that'll matter, right? So we'll see what they have. They could have some of these random bums in there for sure that we're not expecting. But Bryce, talk about Wemby and Luka a little bit deeper. I'm assuming you're going to want to play those guys. Any interest in Kyrie or Devin Vassell? I think they're interesting. You can make a case. Trey Jones at 5'6". He definitely has a ceiling at that price tag. A Daniel Gafford or even a Derek Lively, they could definitely show ceiling performances at their price. So talk about this Dallas game.
One of my favorite games on the slate. I just don't see how this doesn't shoot out. And, with San Antonio at home, I think that'll help it keep it close a little bit better. I love Wemby in the spot. I'd like to be over him. He's going to carry more ownership on DraftKings than FanDuel. I've been playing Wemby on FanDuel all year, and I'm going to continue to play him even at elevated prices over there. I mean, the stocks are king on FanDuel. I'm almost always over Wemby and under Luka, just because Luka doesn't really have those stock games. Like at this price, he needs, even with all the value. I mean, at 12,700, even if he gets a 30-point triple double, it might have to be a 50-point triple double if he doesn't get any stocks on FanDuel. So that's the issue I have with him there. On DraftKings, he's going to be mega chalk. I don't see any way around it. It's hard for me to play, 50% Luka here. I'll probably try and get to around like 25 would probably be like the target I have kind of set in my head. And he'll probably come in slightly over that. So I'm probably going to be slightly under Luka. Now, the rest of this game, I do want to be over on as well. I like Vassell. Kyrie, probably not as much, 9.2. He's going to be in my pool. I'd rather just get up to more Luka and Wemby on DraftKings. Now on FanDuel, Kyrie's 9.9. He's not a good stock player either. But, the $3,000 really matters a little bit more there in terms of being able to build out your rosters. So, like those guys, I think Trey Jones is a decent play. at 5'6". I love that you mentioned him. He's actually been playing huge minutes recently. He's been a great play for a while, and people are finally starting to come around on it. But with all the value and like Jordan Poole, I really think he gets lost in the cracks here. So I love that. I love the Trey Jones play. In terms of other guys to like in this game, I think Lively is definitely in play. I could even see like a PJ Washington type of deal. He's only 5,100. In an elite matchup against the Spurs, where I think he's going to be asked to play a lot of minutes. I think that's a pretty solid play. And the Dallas secondary pieces outside of them for me don't really pop, so I'm kind of off them. Values at such a premium today with what a good spot the Wizards are in. And then probably the last guy I really like in this game, probably Keldon Johnson. I just think he has upside at 5'6". Even with all these guys in, they're going to ask, him to play some minutes. And if he runs well, like you've seen Pop, I think this is a game Pop wants to win. If Pop wants to win a game, he'll run these guys a lot longer than he normally does. So that's kind of my take there.
Yeah, another thing to mention with Wemby. Listen, Wemby played. He played 33 minutes, and then against Brooklyn, he played 36, which was 31. Dude's just going to play 30 minutes pretty much every single night. If you get a little bit more, that's great. But that's his rotation. I know Chat was tilting about it the other day, but he'll get 30 every single night, and it doesn't matter. He's just going to crush. So, and if we do get extra minutes, that's even better, and he's going to absolutely smash at that point. Big T, I typed this in on DraftKings. Luka and Wemby. If I play both of them together, I'm left with 4.4K. I know you like Jokic, but let's just say, do you think that is a possible route to go on this slate? Or are you going to just pick one or the other and play Jokic with them, or just only play one and load up on guys like Jordan Poole, Jalen Green, and all those other like second-tier studs?
I mean, I can almost guarantee I play two studs just because there's so many cheap guys now from Washington that I think you're doing it wrong if you're not playing two of the studs. And that, again, that like on a single entry, that could be Luka, Wemby, Jokic. But then as you branch out to 20 max, 10 max, 150 max, then all the other studs come into the mix, like we've been saying all show. But I need studs. With the blowout, I still like Poole, and I think Poole's going to crush and chuck and stuff. But if that means I can get up to like two or even three studs in some builds, I'm going to choose to do that because I think these cheap Washington guys are going to crush. Like Baldwin, all of them. I mean, they don't have any guys. Jared Butler. And when it turns into a blowout, I mean, they're going to crush. Their whole team is cheap. So I just have to go studs on this slate. You could realistically have 3 or 4 Washington guys 10x for you, 30 and 40 for 3 and 4K. If you're getting 10x from guys, you're just going to need to have them. And that's where I'm going. But I like this game is my favorite game too, as far as just like overall upside and stuff, because Wemby, obviously all the upside in the world. Vassell, same thing. I think versus Dallas, he could get you a 50 piece pretty easy. Trey Jones has been playing a bunch. He could crush. Keldon, Sohan, all these guys are squarely in play for me. And I love them. I think this game is a really good game. I actually like San Antonio to win or be close in this game. Dallas is coming off a big game versus Denver Sunday. We actually took the Spurs in a similar spot to this on a playback on one of the Tuesdays where they played OKC, and the Spurs beat them by about 15. I feel like this is a similar spot here where I think the Spurs win this game. So I like the Spurs a ton. And then Dallas, Luka, great play. Kyrie, you want to talk about a lower owned guy that's going to sneak through the cracks? Kyrie, he could crush in this game, and people really aren't going to go there. Dan Gafford could crush. PJ Washington, I don't like as much. I don't really want to go to cheap guys outside of that first game. But Luka, Kyrie, Gafford, all definitely in play for me.
You have tons of studs on this slate. You got Luka, you got Wemby, you got Jokic, you got Jason Tatum and Edwards. You got them all, Tony. So definitely a slate with tons of guys to go to. Let's go to Denver, Minnesota. Bryce, I'll go to you. Jokic, is he worth it at 12-1? I think Ant is going to be an incredible play. Also, if you told me Rudy Gobert is out and then Naz Reid is in, I would love Naz. If you told me Naz is out and Rudy's in, I think Rudy could be in play at 7-6. There's just a lot that could go on in this game, but there's a lot to guess on, and that's one of the issues. I assume Ant is pretty safe no matter what. I'm curious your take on this game, though, because I don't think we can totally plan for this. I think it's really hard to plan for this. I know JVC talked about it on the Up the Lock show. Just take the value that you have now. Don't try and guess and figure it out later. Maybe K Falk will try and do that. Maybe he'll load up on early guys. I know he has different strategies like that. I like the backload at times. How do you handle these kind of situations? Because I like the backload, but I think this one is too difficult and the value early is just too good.
Wizards value some of the best we've seen all season. I don't think there's any reason to like save for value backload. I think there's more like merit in like, say you want to play. If I'm building with Minnesota, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna play Gobert, and then if Naz Reid is in and Gobert is out, you just quick swap to Naz Reid. It's the simplest swap of all time. And then like it's way easier to go down the 100 because you can just QPR it than go up the 100. So you just build with Gobert, go down to Naz. If they're both in, I think Gobert is still playable. Like it's not like I'm gonna have tons of Gobert on the slate, but like there's an easy way to get off. It's to just simply play Naz. Now, if they're both out, that's a little more different. I would probably get up to Jokic and then like spend down from like an Anthony Edwards or like a Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray's been a huge buy for me over the last couple of weeks, and he's going to continue to be so. I think he's really underpriced for the upside he carries on a nightly basis. The way they stagger his minutes with Jokic is actually like pretty smart, even though I hate Mike Malone. Like he gets a lot of out of any player on the Nuggets, he gets the most time without Jokic on the floor. So, that always interests me in Jamal Murray. You can see these like random weird pop-off games from like Porter, Aaron Gordon. It's not my favorite plays, but they're going to be in my pool. I think like a Kyle Anderson would be a really solid play if some of these Minnesota guys are out, or even if it's just Towns. I still think slow-mo's in play. KCP, I think, is a value that I'm going to have a little bit of. Like, say you want to play some value, I think KCP is the best value in this game. Like, if you Minnesota backstack, hoping to get these guys out and they're not out, he's probably like him or like a Peyton Watson is probably your best option to go to. But I do think that JBC makes a good point. When the value's this good early, just take the early value, play the studs later, and then you can adjust as needed. Didn't even mention Jokic in this spot. I think he's absolutely one of the best spends of the slate. You're going to get him at what, a fifth of the ownership of Luka. When you have more value outside of the center position, just because it's a tough matchup against Minnesota. Doesn't matter for Jokic. He's matchup independent. Really like him as like a contrarian spend.
Yep, agree with you on that. We have our very own. I threw the bait out there. I said his name. There he is, K Falk, watching the show. Kevin is right. If both are out, Minnesota is a very intriguing situation. I do think the value just early is so good, and there's enough ways to get different. But
they're not sitting. Like these guys are not sitting.
It's a big game for them. If both of them are out,
so either.
I'd be stunned if they sat them versus Denver. They have the same record right now.
I think Naz could sit because he had a hand injury.
Naz could definitely sit. Yeah. I wasn't even talking about him. Yeah.
I do think they sat Rudy last night, kind of for this game. I think it makes sense.
No way Rudy's sitting.
Yeah, I could definitely see Rudy playing. I don't see them trying to punt this game. And listen, Ant always plays. Like,
there's no way Ant's sitting. He just freaking dunked on a dude's life last night.
Yes, and do you remember that injury Ant had? He had that weird injury, like where he hurt his knee, and it was like non-contact. And I thought he was maybe done for the season, and then he still came back. Like Ant, he had a dislocated left finger. I think it was one on the left hand. I feel pretty confident he's playing. And to the point of Jason, I don't know where he's seeing 6% ownership. I think he said, but dude, Ant's an amazing play with Gobert in and with Gobert out, right? He's just going to absolutely crush. Now, if it's a blowout, it's a blowout. It can easily happen, but Denver's on the road. That obviously helps Minnesota. I think it's a really good spot for Ant. He's one of those spends you have to consider. He's guard and forward eligible as well. So Big T, break down this game for me. And also tell our guy Raxon that there's no chance Mike Conley's going for 40 DK points tonight. Please, I want your Raxon. No way.
There's no one more contrarian. He might be more contrarian than K Falk. Like he always wants the like just totally random dudes that crush. I love it though. I love my boy Raxon. I was just going to talk about this game the same. I was going to lead into it with kind of where you were going, where both teams got 21 losses. Same exact record. They're both a half game back of OKC. It's a 3-horse race for this 1 seed. Denver knocked them out of the playoffs last year. I mean, these teams are coming to play in this game, which is that good or bad for fantasy-wise is my next question. Because Ant, you just talked about Ant. I would argue Denver can guard him as good as anybody in the league with Gordon, with MPJ's size, with KCP. They can guard him as good as – that doesn't mean he's not going to do good. Studs always do good. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying they can guard him as good. And on the flip side, Minnesota can guard with these bigger bodies. Jokic, as good as anyone. I mean, Jokic is still Jokic. He could absolutely smash, and he does all the time versus Gobert. But they're playing for the 1 seed. It's going to be closely contested, tighter rotations, I would assume. It's a big game, big-time game for these teams, which makes me want to go a little bit lower on all these guys. Again, it doesn't mean I'm not playing them. I'm going to play Ant plenty. I'm going to play Gobert plenty. If Nas was in there, the point Bryce made's perfect. Like, if you're doing your player pool, don't play Gobert and Nas. Just play Gobert. If you need to pivot some later to Nas, you can pivot. Or pivot them all if Gobert was somehow out. Blah, blah, blah. 3-horse race. Yeah, so that's in Denver. I'm always a Jokic guy, but I still probably like Wemby and Luka a little bit more just because the matchup is somewhat tough. But again, I mean, Jokic is going to be so low owned for his upside. And it's in a must-win spot, which Jokic has been amazing. Not must-win, but a big game spot. And Jokic has been amazing in these spots. I love Jamal Murray. Totally agree with Bryce again, where he just is always underprojected to me. I think he should be closer to like mid to high 40s rather than low 40s every time. He's just really good in big spots. I don't think they really can match up with Jamal as much as Yoke. I think they can match up with Yoke a little bit better than Jamal. So I like Jamal a ton. I mean, a sneaky guy. So they say Monte Morris. Obviously, he was with Denver 2 years ago. They traded him. Everyone thought the Wizards got the better end of that deal. That was one Twitter argument I definitely didn't lose. Everyone thought Monte and Will Barton for KCP was a good deal Washington's way. That was a joke. That looks even worse now when you look back at it. KCP is a very important part of Denver's rotation. Monte and Barton are basically out of the freaking NBA as bad as they are. So you can't play Monte on this slate. Believe me, I like revenge factors as much as anyone. You're not playing Monte Morris over any of those Washington guys. It's not even a pivot. Like in a tournament, you can't even make that pivot. It's just too what's the word we always use? It's too soft or weak or whatever the word is. Thin. It's too thin. That's what I meant. I think this is a great basketball game, though, more than fantasy. I actually don't like it much for fantasy. I think it plays lower scoring. I think it's a playoff atmosphere, and I think a lot of these guys go under their projection.
Yeah, it's definitely not my favorite game either, and I don't want to try and plan for this. I mean, I'm okay with doing the Ant thing. The only other thing I thought about is if Ant somehow missed, what could I pivot to? And like, I don't know, I guess I could like put him in the util and pivot to Jamal Murray, but I don't love that. You know what I mean? It's definitely a tough spot for sure. Listen, I love the backload at times and try to take advantage. I just think this is a little bit of a tougher spot to navigate. And I think you'd be looking at the end of the night and just realize, you're in trouble compared to some of these other plays that crushed early. So I'll try to figure out how to get different with those plays early on. If you guys could please hit that like, we would appreciate it a ton. Also, we are running a ton of March Madness pools for you guys. So if you're a member, go sign up, Big T. Also, I know you mentioned there, if anyone signs up as a member and there's a group of people, we'll refund them. Do you want to look into that? Has anyone DM'd you, or are we just not doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I can look. I haven't looked.
Well, we have to look. I mean, you did give a guarantee on the show. I can't end the show. I can't end the show without a guarantee. Did anyone sign up and message you?
Our part is I got a bunch of messages off my March Madness stuff.
I mean, well, that sounds like a Big T problem.
Tony's just too popular.
Yeah,
that's not true. I do got one message from Steve Sanders. Let's see what he said. He only signed up for a weekly, but I got you. It's the only one that signed up during the show. Steve, DM me. Well, I got your DM actually because you sent it. I'll send it in there. Just send me your Venmo. I'll send it over to you. I don't care. It's just a weekly, but you got it for free, buddy.
All right. So Steve, congrats. You got
and get in that bracket pool now that you're in.
Steve's going to take my money in this bracket pool. I know he's winning it now.
Yep.
And what's better than
it is going to be funny when he wins that bracket pool from getting in during this.
Yeah. What's also better than a Steve winning during March Madness? Am I right? I mean, it's got to be a good name with our guy Steve Boynton giving out the.
As much as I love Boyd, he's going to be insufferable if he wins.
Oh, we can't let him win that.
I need to put a ton of brackets into this contest.
Steve, you should have phrased it, Steve. And if you're listening, I mean this with love. Steve is going to be insufferable.
It's an NBA show. He's not watching us. We can.
No, he said hi earlier. He said hi earlier, but Steve
in the chat he did.
Yeah, he was in the chat. He said something. So
I'm surprised he's not cranking it to this Howard game. You got first playing game starts in 40 minutes. Little pregame. Little 16-seater.
All right, but let's get to the plays of the day for the people. Bryce, I'll go over to you first. Let the people know, who do you got? Who is your play of the day?
I got a message the other day saying I have the same play of the day every show, and I'm going to continue with it. Victor Wembanyama. He's projected at 10%. Motherfucker's going to have 30, 10, 5, and 5. People just don't play him. I don't get it. The guy's a stud just because he's under projected. Like, I could see his minutes being pretty high here too. Like, I feel this is a game Pop wants to win against like Luka and Dallas. Like, the Spurs don't have a lot to play for outside of narratives. This narrative plays well in the state of Texas. I like Wemby a ton today.
All right, Big T, who do you got? Who is the workbench play of the day?
These Washington guys, like, am I allowed to give any of them or no?
You can give a Washington guy, just don't make it like Jordan Poole.
You can give anyone.
It's not going to be Jordan Poole.
Yeah, just don't give away a Celtic, okay? I got it, Boston Celtic covered.
That's what you shouldn't have said it. You should have just come in with it. I'll go lower owned because I like a few of the higher owned guys. Like, I think Patrick Baldwin says he's low owned. I have a feeling he's going to be very high owned once he's a starter. Because one note about Washington and Bruce, our boy Bruce, one of the best college football guys, CSGO, one of the best dudes all around, brought it up. Washington has no bigs whatsoever. Like, Rashawn Holmes is going to crush tonight. Anthony Gill's a backup big. Corey Kispert technically is one of their bigs. Patrick Baldwin isn't even really a big, and he's considered a power forward big. Like, these guys are small in here. So you can go crazy with I said 4 to start the show. I think you can even go 5 on DraftKings. I know I always go one more than other people, but these prices are just so freaking cheap that I want as much as I can get. But my play, I want to go to a lower owned guy. Who can I go with? Assuming he doesn't start, Jules Bernard, is he going to start? I want to give a lower owned one. So he's lower owned.
The starters, yes. the starters last game, Tony. Just so you know, they were Corey Kispert, Rashawn Holmes, Justin Champagnie, Patrick Baldwin, and Jordan Poole. That was the starting.
So that's who I think it'll be tonight too. So okay, definitely Jules Bernard for me. Then he's a chucker from UCLA, 3,400. I like him just as much as the starters. I think Champagnie and Baldwin are like stone cold locks. Like stone cold locks. But besides them two, Bernard would be like my lower owned pivot type to throw in there.
All right. I am going to go to a forward. I really think the forward spot is a spot that you can get really good and different with and find some of those spends. There's a lot of good value guards that you can get to. Let's go with Ant Edwards. You can play him at guard if you want to.
You're going to make that dude so happy in there. Well, who is the Jason Gordon? Jason Gordon's going to be going down your pants shortly. That's
true. Jason, if you haven't hit the like, that'll help me as well. So hit that like for me as well. But I do love Ant, and Ant is one of my favorort players. It's just
I gave that whole speech, and it didn't even phase you. You just said, "Bring it, Big T, you bastard."
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be good times. Ant's gonna absolutely crush tonight. I can't wait. So ready to roll. Excited to break down. Excited to see what the up the watch.
And you went with the Stu Feiner, our boy Stu. We all like Stu. Ready to roll.
Yeah, I've been dropping the ready to roll a little bit more lately. So, and it's March Madness. It's definitely a great time to be ready to roll. We got the Up the Lock show. They're ready to roll.
Post that video like Stu. People would eat that shit up if you just started screaming, like took your shirt off and said ready to roll, ready to roll, ready to roll. People would love that.
For March Madness, right before.
Oh, yeah.
On the day, maybe I will. I'll have to think of something funny.
Like that one when you slammed that drink or whatever and went all over you, like that took off. You got to add in a ready to roll this time, though.
We'll have to add it in, but we're going to be ready to roll and get on out of here. The Up the Lock show, they will take care of everything else for you. We got tons of college basketball stuff for you guys this week, so be on the lookout for that. Tons of free money to get out there. And yes, Beanair, shirtless Mangone, watch out. You need a warning. It's coming. But for me, Mangone, 3rd Inch Long, and Big T, we will see you guys later.
Hey.